I am currently in New York collecting evidence to prove that my former colleague Dexter Morgan is in fact the Bay Harbor Butcher.
Dexter Resurrection, Episode 8, The Kill Room Where It Happens. I thought it was another quality episode, not as good as Course Correction from the previous week, but that was one of the very best Dexter episodes in a very, very long time. That one covered a lot of different ground that all moved the story forward, whereas this one was more of a transitional episode, where three main things happened. 1. Dexter helped Harrison deal with the landlord issue at hand. 2. Batista is hot on Dexter's trail, nearly catching him in the act, or at least nearly catching him apparently in the act. And 3. The big reveal at the end, that Prader discovered Red has a son. Dealing with Vinny was somewhat of a consolation prize after Al fled to Wisconsin because he thought Hamilton sucked out loud. The interesting thing here is that Dexter, at one point, seemed to be trying to justify that murdering Vinny would fit the code. His inner nutjob Harry monologue tried steering him straight, indicating Dexter knew he didn't fit it, but he was just all murder horny to kill after Al fled the state. Whether Dexter may have perhaps actually killed him in the heat of the moment remains unknown, because Batista busted in and spoiled the party. Amazingly, Dexter never thought that Batista may have tracked his car. Incidentally, watching Vin barrel over poor Batista while calling him a foul name was priceless. Batista's tracking device, of course, led him to the wig shop, where Dexter had been preparing for Al. Batista is hot on Dexter's trail, and the kill room setup there left him no doubt about the fact that Dexter Morgan is indeed the Bay Harbor Butcher. The problem here for Batista is he has no real evidence, and he has been very sloppy and unconvincing. Even without Dexter trying to convince Claudette that Batista began spiraling out of control with Dokes taking the fall and LaGuerta later dying, Batista hasn't done a particularly good job at articulating his knowledge to New York's finest. Add in the fact that Quinn basically helped confirm that Batista's behavior has been erratic, and rock star Claudette has no real reason to take him seriously. Despite this fact, Claudette has still looked into the matter, not once, but twice. On some level, she is curious about Batista's gut instinct, despite the fact his communications have been sloppy and defy the, quote, facts of the case as Rockstar sees them. This was not the first time we have seen Quinn this season, and surely it will not be the last. He could become a key player down the final stretch and beyond. As we know, Quinn had his own suspicions regarding Dexter, Rita, and Trinity. Indeed, Quinn even sought out Jonah Mitchell, and he also took on the help of Stan Liddy, who wound up dying. In the end, Quinn eventually let it go, in part because he was madly in love with Deb, and he was perhaps grateful that Dexter did him a solid with the blood drop on his shoe. It's also worth noting that Quinn and Batista both witnessed video evidence of Dexter taking out Saxon like a trained assassin. We can assume Quinn is aware of what happened with Dexter and Deb near the end, as Batista himself is aware, but as far as we the audience are aware, Quinn has no knowledge that Dexter Morgan is alive, that he faked his own death, or that his longtime girlfriend contacted Batista with the belief that Dexter is indeed the one and only Bay Harbor Butcher. The big question here becomes, will Batista and Quinn eventually get the opportunity to compare notes? No doubt Quinn will find himself in New York sooner than later. Will Batista even survive long enough that he and Quinn have the chance to compare notes? Because if they can compare notes, it should only act to reaffirm Batista's beliefs, and it should likewise convince Quinn that he had been right all along. Finally, Prader busting in on Dexter and Harrison sharing a meal, in large part due to the fact that Charlie doesn't trust Red and feels something is off. Okay, so Red has a son. That in itself isn't necessarily something that would provide an insurmountable obstacle for Dexter. After all, Dexter is resourceful and quick on his feet. The bigger issue here, as I see it, is that Dexter is a big-time meat eater. Indeed, his carnivorous ways may be his undoing here. Dexter was eating himself a juicy rare steak when Prader busted in. A steak! Not exactly something you'd imagine a vegan would have at the top of his menu. And this after Dexter already broke his cover because of his inability to resist being a meat eater. Interestingly enough, earlier this season, Batista was absolutely baffled when he discovered that Jim Lindsay loved himself some tuna. The fact that Prader went to great lengths to provide Red with food he enjoys should be setting off red flags here. Beyond that, at this point in the story, we do not know what else Charlie may have discovered, and on top of that, we don't exactly know what Prader himself already may know. I don't think Prader ultimately cares that Dexter is an imposter. Indeed, if and when Prader learns that Dexter is actually the Bay Harbor Butcher, I maintain that Prader will be thrilled upon this discovery. Given that Prader has close connections to law enforcement, it's even possible he is already aware that there has been chatter regarding the Butcher. Perhaps Rockstar Claudette's partner Melvin could have even played a role in all that. Another little thing I loved in this episode was how upset poor Blessing got after he discovered Dexter's betrayal, where Dexter spilled the beans to Joy like a complete knucklehead. Poor Blessing was irate. I can't help but believe that Blessing somehow figures into someone ultimately discovering Dexter's new blood slide collection. Maybe it will be Batista, or perhaps Rockstar Claudette, maybe even Prader or Charlie. One way or another, someone is going to discover those poorly hidden trophies, and then the evidence Batista needs might be within reach. At this point, we still have no idea about the identity of the New York Ripper. I think it's probably safe to say it isn't Blessing, and it isn't the slumlord king of New York. You know, Quasimodo predicted all this. That doesn't leave all too many viable suspects left. Which leads me to believe that the theory of it being Jonah Mitchell is probably the best bet right now. Not my theory, but a popular theory floating around which I believe is both totally plausible and also interesting. Regardless, with just 2 episodes remaining, it's unclear whether the Ripper will even play a significant role down the final stretch. The only thing we know for sure from last week is that Prader knows his identity and is in possession of his murder weapon. I'm expecting we may at least learn the true identity before the season concludes, but maybe not. Either way, it feels like the greater New York Ripper story is perhaps intended for the following season. At the end of the day, Dexter Resurrection continues to impress me. It has tremendously exceeded my modest expectations. And I have to hand it to Clyde Phillips and the creative team here. They clearly took the many criticisms of New Blood to heart, and they didn't just resurrect the series. They resurrected the quality of the series to heights not seen since the awful writing blunder that saw them kill off Rita. Something the show never truly recovered from until now. Dexter Resurrection is indeed making Dexter great again. What do you think so far? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful night.
I don't understand why you did this to me. I was very clear. That part of my life was always to remain separate. He's gonna kill me!
Where's Dexter?
Out of my way, you cocksucker!
Kind of spiraled when he found out his partner was the Bay Harbor Butcher. Maybe you've heard of him? James Dokes?
He was our captain, but he retired. He up and quit out of nowhere. It was crazy.
Angel Batista.
Yeah, look, he's a really good guy. He is, but...
Look, I'm not lying. Dexter must have found it. He must have destroyed it. He's smart. Finds himself out of everything. When it all goes down, believe me, you'll understand. But for now, the less you know, the better.
If I really am who you think I am, this can't possibly end well for you.
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.